Welcome to the Buck and Mike Experience,
Experience sports like you never had before.
where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Bam! 2024 edition. First one of the year. Technically, we made it into a whole new year.
Yeah,
Props
yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
Just saying, this is like you said, we know people that tried these adventures, go 10 episodes, and well, hey, we're not consistent every week. We've fought through hell and high water. You were sick. I was sick. We had 2 weeks of NFL season pass.
Yeah.
We watched both of our teams go on the roller coaster of that is the season. I think the high points of that would be that it's over. Like, that's kind of...
Yeah.
I don't have to have any more kids. That's the fun part about it is you saw my post. Like, I saw
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I put that post on Facebook as soon as it happened. Well, at least I don't have any more kids. I think we've talked about it on the show before. So if you've seen the show, you know the bet with my wife. If you don't, deal was if the Dolphins won the Super Bowl by this year, I had to get my vasectomy first. The amount of people that laughed at that post, who I know for a fact don't know what I'm talking about, or like that I'm just like, you don't even know why that's funny. Like, are you just laughing because other people laughed at what I
it
said?
sounds funny.
Yeah. It's like, then there's people that, like, there was one person that actually commented in there, damn, I forgot about that. I was supposed to cheer for them. So, but yeah, I mean, any takeaways you want to give on your team season? I kind of was ready for us to lose.
Well, I didn't expect it to happen the way that it happened.
Agreed.
I thought that they would put up a fight. They do have this issue where they're just, I don't know, they don't play well in the playoffs. So I didn't have a lot of faith in them. Like, I was rooting for them, but
Yeah.
I didn't really have a lot of faith in Cowboys. And
They still came in so good, though. It, like, of the big losses that we watched happen throughout the higher seed losses, or the teams that, like, the Dolphins were a lower seed, but they were a favorite.
yeah.
I kind of felt that possibility. The Eagles, you kind of had a trend of what was going on that it was very probable that they were going to lose that game.
Yeah.
Dallas still went in a situation, though, where you kind of thought, all right, we'll get by week one. We'll beat the Packers. Like, the Packers they've looked good, but then they've had some losses even down the last couple weeks where you're like, so it was just rough.
And then you look at the fact that Mike McCarthy's going back to Green Bay in a playoff setting. You look at just little different factors, but to me, I don't know. Cowboys in the playoffs is something that since the 90s doesn't mix anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they can't put things together. So I didn't have a lot of faith in them. And then now there's news that just came out that Mike McCarthy is officially staying for the 24 season.
Okay.
Dan Quinn is likely gone, and I might be okay with that because
I say
his defense relies on the offense having a lead. Like, his defense does better
because he's so
when his offense has a lead.
He's so pressure based.
And when they don't have a lead, what happened to the Green Bay Packers is what happens.
Yeah, and there was the other thing I noticed about that is that I mean, like you're a Cowboys fan, you watch more Cowboy games than I, but I watch enough from watching the Red Zone and being a local team and everything else, is that they were very man based.
Mm-hmm. And they played a lot of zone.
Exactly, like it was like they got into the playoffs and they felt this need to let's trick up the play something. Let's trick them. Let's show them something different.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like if you're gonna show someone something different on a scheme wise for defense, changing it up and going more man is actually more beneficial because it's harder to plan for man than it is for a quarterback whose job is to find openings in zone.
Yeah.
So if you go out there and say, okay, now we're going to go soft zone, because it was soft zone. I mean, there were 8-9 yards off the ball at point. Like, there were times where I just thought Love was going to snap the ball and turn around and just slip it sidearm because he had 4 yards before someone was going to touch the guy.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the part of it, especially because, like, there was one play that it almost told the whole story of this isn't going to work out today. It was like 3rd and 7, 8. I think it was like the second drive of the game. And Parsons dropped back into coverage. On a 3rd down.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, he's one of the 3 best pass rushers in the entire league. Like, I get the occasional, let's trick things up on a 2nd down. It's 3rd down. We're pinning our head back. Go get that guy.
It's an important
Yes.
down. Yeah.
And so there were definitely things of it. I mean, of the entire weekend, though, the game that I thought would be the best game was my favorite game, though, was definitely the Lions and Rams.
Yeah.
It was a darn good football game.
Oh, yeah.
Great football
I
game.
still hate that the Lions fans booed Stafford. There was no reason for them to boo him.
Yeah, there really wasn't. I think that you give. I wonder if it's a regular season setting. If they don't, I think you get it because
Maybe. Maybe.
It's a little bit of a different vibe. It's the playoffs. The last thing you want to give your team is the thought that you might like something going on. I'd like to see him come back and play them in Ford Field in I don't know, September, October, November. See how they react to him then because
Probably not well since his press conference at the end of the game
probably not right
when he was like, "I'm happy for the football players," and that's it.
Yeah,
I'm happy for the football players. Like
Uh,
they threw shade at him, he threw it back.
Yeah,
Like,
so still though, I think that it was just. I mean, they were fun. It was a fun game.
Yeah.
It was. There were some of the teams that did get wins. There was some things that we got to learn about guys that will affect the future of the league. I think we're establishing one. Packers made the right move.
they did.
Jordan Love's a guy.
They did.
Take it away from any of it. He's been this good for weeks now, closing out the season. He's a guy.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on him. If you're that's what it is. Baker Mayfield's definitely getting paid.
Yep.
That guy's getting a contract because Baker Mayfield went out and beat the Eagles with the Eagles were faltering. We know that, but Mike Evans wasn't even a factor in that game most of the
No,
game.
not really.
He went out there
It
and
was
was doing
Cade
it with
Otton.
Cade
Otton
Otton
and then that last little
Rashad
fadeaway.
White. We barely saw Rashad White at all.
Yeah.
Trey Palmer, I think it was.
Trey
He
Palmer.
had the big
Trey
run.
Palmer. Yeah.
We saw their defense made some plays. Was it Chauncey?
Boston.
Yeah, the young kid, that rookie. I mean, this is one of the things that I saw though. One of the things that's exciting, C.J. Stroud, we know he's a guy because the Browns defense got carved up. I'm gonna look it up. It's gonna come on my list here.
The Bucks.
The Bucks, Clancy,
Kalijah
Clancy, that dude,
Yeah.
all over the field. I swear, when
Yeah.
I looked up, he was all over the field.
Cansey and
Yeah.
Yaya Diaby.
So I was when I was digging into it, I found this list, and it was on ESPN. They had the 32 ranked all 32 rookie classes and how productive the rookie class was this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna just go through the top 10 and tell me what you hear. What is the common thing we see about most of these top 10 teams? Houston, Los Angeles Rams, the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions. Then you have the Chicago Bears, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Falcons, Cardinals, and the Steelers. But of the 10 teams on there, 6 of those are what?
Really young?
Really? Well, they're not really young. They're playoff teams.
Oh.
They were all playoff.
I mean,
they were able to
your
get
first
there.
couple are really young.
Well,
Those are
also
two really
true.
young
That's
teams.
even besides that. That's just saying that, but then you factor in that we're now going into the second round. We've got 8 teams left in the playoffs. And off of last year's draft, the Texans, the Rams, the Packers, and the Lions and the Bucks are 5 of the top 6 teams that they are basically grading their draft. And where is that at? They're
That's
all
pretty good.
still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So what it tells you is that the key to that success is being able to keep all that youth.
Yeah.
Like the fact is, so many this year's rookie class had an impact in a way. Just looking at the numbers wise, like the fantasy side of games
Yeah.
and even all that.
Yeah.
The rookie class this year made an impact in a way that I don't know that I've ever seen in my life watching football.
It's because there was this year, or this 23 class had a lot of rookies that were playmakers.
It did. And that's
So
true.
the year before, there was a lot of defensive and offensive linemen that were getting taken.
Yeah.
So that's why this year you saw a lot more, because there was just a lot more just actual playmakers getting drafted. And I think this coming class in 24 is going to do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
there's a ton of playmakers that are going to be drafted in the first 2 rounds, and in the first round for sure. Maybe second round, but
First 20 picks, you're going to probably see 3 wide receivers, a star tight end, possibly a few quarterbacks. I mean, we've got some names.
yeah, there's a good chance that this class is going to be just almost as dynamic as the 23 class.
Yeah,
when it comes to fantasy.
It just seemed like you look at the Packers, just their wide receiving core. If we would have told that same group of guys darn near was kind of what Rodgers had, and they said he didn't have anyone to throw to. And now we're looking at all these first and second year guys, Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft was drafted after Luke Musgrave, but because Tucker Kraft's been so good while Musgrave was hurt, they started Kraft, and they're like, he's still too damn good too, so let's get Musgrave in the game. Like, and that's not even counting. The Packers can throw the ball to 8 different guys.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter that Christian Watson missed most of the season because he's supposed to be the best.
Because
weapon.
Jaden
Reed,
like,
Jaden Reed
when-
kind of took that job.
Yeah, when Jaden Reed got drafted, a lot of the draft people, they were like, that's the guy. That's their number one guy. Because he was a stud at Michigan State. Like,
Sure.
he was good. And he just fell because he's not a big dude.
Yeah.
So...
It's just crazy. It's fun this season, especially just kind of really watching it though. And then like we talked about, the Texans sitting up here, and the Texans are. We didn't really factor in that the Texans are riddled with injuries. Like
their offensive line,
and the receiving core. Like they have Nico Collins still, but Tank Dell's been out for a while now. Noah Brown's been their number 3 guy. He's been on and off the field.
Yeah.
Like they're running out the 4th and 5th wide receiver, and throwing for 350 against what was number 1 defense in the league most of the year in the Cleveland Browns. Like,
well, was Denzel Ward playing? I think he might have been out because I know he got hurt during practice.
Did he? Okay. I know it's a couple.
I don't remember if he ended up playing or not, but I know he got hurt during practice, and they were worried about him not playing.
Yeah.
And kind of the same with Jair Alexander with the Packers.
Yes.
But even without that though, like Houston handled on the pass rush like really well against Cleveland,
They
and
really
that's what helps that secondary. But they handled the pass rush.
You
very
rarely
well.
heard watching the game. It was you heard Myles Garrett's name because you were talking about why he hasn't made an impact.
Yeah.
You didn't hear Zadarius Smith's name hardly at all. Like that dude was absent most of the game. It was. I mean, it didn't help that Flacco went out and threw 2 balls right into the gut of the other team. But, like, you could just tell that there's something about, I don't know, maybe it's this, it's fun because we did just see this wave of the old dog going. You know, like, we haven't even gotten into the Pete Carroll stepping downs. Belichick's going to coach next season, but he's not in New England. We had kind of that wave of these old dogs going and new dogs kind of, Kelsey hasn't officially apparently retired yet, but it looks like he's gonna go, things like that. Like, and so it's kind of fun that we really saw a predominant movement of the youth that's gonna keep the game going and keep it fun and keep the names out there and all that. So that was kind of one of the things that I really got to notice really all through playoff weekend this weekend was that we just got such this, if you're not a guy like you and I who watched all season and saw these names and kind of knew they were doing this for themselves, you didn't know who Nico Collins was if you weren't an avid football watcher or a fantasy guy. Yeah. You know who Nico Collins is after this weekend.
I'll tell you this.
Well, that dude's a baller.
So, I'll say this. His rookie year coming out of Michigan, I didn't think he was very good. My buddy Cheyenne is a Michigan guy. Loved him and said he was going to be that dude. Yeah. He also said Donovan Peoples-Jones was going to be that dude.
Hey, DPJ. I love that guy.
Because, he's a Michigan guy also.
Yeah.
Like, he says everyone's going to be that dude. But he was really adamant about Nico Collins, and he was right. Like, I was wrong. When I saw him, I was like, I don't think he's going to be that good. And then with C.J. Stroud, he took that next step. Like, all he needed was a good quarterback throwing to him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess he is kind of good because he's doing some stuff that I didn't realize he could do.
Oh, and it's funny how much, like, when not Sirianni, the guy's name that runs it starts with a C, Sirianni, the guy that runs the Texans, GM.
His name is Caserio.
Caserio.
Nick Caserio.
Like, every turn in his process of getting to this team where it is, everyone's made fun of him. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. This guy has no business. This guy's trying to bring the Patriot way, but he never really was a Patriot. Like, he doesn't know. Like, he constantly got crapped on. Every move this guy made was the wrong move. Then you turn around and you look back and home run at head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Home run in the draft, sticking to his guns. CJ Stroud was his guy. Home run trading back in. We even said maybe he gave up too much for Will Anderson. Will Anderson was a little questionable at the end of that last year at Alabama. That was a home run.
Yep.
Will Anderson was a huge part of winning that game this weekend.
He's actually the number one defensive or edge rushing rookie pass rush success rate in the NFL. And I believe he was number one of all rookies on the pass rush win rate. But Jordan Davis, I think, was fairly close, maybe a little bit better.
Okay.
But of course, Jordan Davis, defensive tackle, or not Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter from the Eagles, which that mess was coming. Honestly, I was less and less surprised as the game got uglier, like how that game was playing out. It was just like that Eagle team, they quit.
Yeah, they quit.
And there was no turning a gear back on. It was like they checked out 6 weeks ago.
When you have to replace your defensive coordinator with
And
who they replaced him with, and Matt Patricia,
yeah,
you already have a problem. You have a problem that your defense coordinator is so bad, you have to replace him with a guy that's so bad that they tried to make him be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad this dude is.
Exactly.
Like, New England's defense got better when he got a head coaching job away from there.
Yeah, because the funny part of New England was a situation where you look at them like this season and realize that, yes, their offense was awful, but their defense in most stats at the end of the season still was top 10 defense. Bill Belichick did what Bill Belichick does.
Yeah.
He had a good defense. He's never been an offensive guy. So I kind of snicker at the idea that they keep linking him to the Falcons because the weapons are there for the Falcons, but they have
a good defense.
But they have a good defense, and we know he can handle that, but he doesn't have a quarterback. And that's kind of he's got to have someone to run the offense, especially at his age now.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of snicker when they say he's going to go to the Falcons, because all the pieces are there. But if he doesn't get him a Brad Johnson, like a young, whiz guy of offense, that's probably the next head coaching candidate, you worry he's going to fail anyway.
Like right now, I haven't seen Eric Bieniemy's name being tossed around as a head coach candidate anywhere, which is crazy to me. Because he made Sam Howell look good.
Yeah, for almost 3/4 of the season, Sam Howell looked great, and then they just caved. I mean,
to me, I don't understand why he's not getting kicks. But if you're Bill Belichick, I'm hollering at Eric Bieniemy to run my offense.
100%. And if you're Bieniemy, I'm calling him.
Yeah,
because Riverboat Ron's gone. So you're not stuck for sure in Seattle, Washington. I would call Bill myself and go, listen, you need a guy that does what I do, and I need a guy that can get me the springboard. Because if he goes and makes Bill Belichick's offense successful, now he's going to get his coaching call.
Yep.
Because he doesn't get the call because of being with Reid, because people say it was Andy Reid's system.
Even though we watched
Kansas
City's offense without Eric Bieniemy, and it's not pretty. They're getting some wins, but it's not pretty.
It's not. They've got to get. I don't know.
Receivers are a problem, but Matt Nagy is also a problem.
Well, I think the other part you're seeing is not just. I mean, the receiving. Yes, definitely. There's some problems with some of their receiving guys, but I think it's they went so bought in on trying to get another Tyreek Hill receiver. They went and got a bunch of poor man Tyreek Hills.
Yes.
Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. Rashee Rice has been a good football player. He's at least your number 2 if you can get a guy.
Yeah.
But Travis Kelce's 100% getting older. We saw that happened fast. This season, his age hit fast. And they're gonna give him the story like, he wasn't focused on football because he's got the famous girlfriend. No. I just think he's just getting older. He takes a lot of hits. He sees a lot of targets. He's played a lot of extra football.
And teams are keying in on him more than they are anyone else. When you have no one else, and to me, I'm not saying that tight end is a easy position to defend, but if you're not worried about anything else, shutting a tight end down is very easy. I think shutting a receiver down is a lot harder than shutting the tight end down because you can easily shut Kelce down, and it kills off.
Especially with how much explosiveness and speed we have across the league in general. all you have to do to genuinely shut Kelsey down is you have to get that big linebacker that's just as fast and just man it up. Run him around with you. A guy like the prototypical size and speed combo would have been a guy like Isaiah Simmons. He hasn't worked out, but that kind of guy, you get him to go shadow a Kelsey, you can limit him in
Simmons
some capacity.
and Owusu-Koramoah
Yes.
for the Browns.
Oh, that guy. As bad as the Browns were, that dude's name was still all over that football field. That guy's going to be a stud.
Oh, yeah. He was one of them that when he got drafted, so he should have been in the first round, but he had some weird stuff going on with his medicals that ended up dropping him to the second round.
Okay.
Like, he was an actual, like, legit stud that people were fawning over. But something about his medicals, because it was the COVID year, so we didn't get to hear a lot of it. But after he got drafted, it came out that there was something in his medicals that made it drop.
Gotcha.
And don't know why. I still don't know because they haven't really released it. They just said something in the medicals. But he was literally drafted to be a guy that covered the tight end. Like, that was what his job was to be able to do that because he's big enough and he's fast enough. Like, I mean, big enough. He's only like 220. Like, he's a safety size.
Yeah.
But he's got a linebacker's prowess along with a cornerback's coverability.
And he hits. He's
Yeah.
not scared to go hit someone.
Like,
and that's what a
he was
linebacker
perfect
has
dude.
to do.
Yeah.
And I will say that we're going to need more guys like that because as though we're seeing Kelsey go back, Kelsey's impact on football, yes, we had big name tight ends before Travis Kelsey. But the way league has opened up using the tight end because of what Kansas City did, the Sam Laportas, the George Kittles, the guys like that, the way the entire position, Javen Njoku is all over the place. If he could consistently catch the ball, that guy's numbers would be, he led the league in drops. If you take half his drops away, that dude's 1,000+ yard guy himself.
That's been his problem his entire career.
Exactly, but they keep throwing the ball because when he gets the ball in his hands, he's making plays.
Yep.
And he's been able to block, he sets the run edge decently. Like, they're getting so many of those guys that they're gonna need more guys. I know that you said I'm pretty sure he got hurt, but the Cowboys drafted a guy that was supposed to be that like Overshawn. That was his kind of
DeMarion. He
and
tore
got
his
hurt.
ACL
Yeah,
in preseason.
But no, there's but the other part that was some of the thing you could really see that told.
But they also got Bell. Bell was almost the same type of way because he's was drafted as a safety, but he's got the same like size and style that Overshawn did. So that's what they basically used him for.
It's almost like they're using these guys for what we always used to like say players like Roy Williams should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you did this, but I did when I was on Madden when I was a kid. You get on Madden, you trade for like a Roy Williams who's a safety and he's like an 85. But then you move him to linebacker, he's a 97. Yeah. Jamal Adams is the same way. Like if you trade Jamal Adams
to defensive ends too.
Oh yeah, and if you move Jamal Adams to linebacker though in Madden, his rating goes up like 10 points. But Jamal Adams says, "I'm a safety." You're a damn good pass rusher. Yeah. You just be a linebacker. You may pay for it.
So the Owusu-Koramoahs of the world are because of Jamal Adams because he is that hybrid safety linebacker type.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these Owusu-Koramoah is that hybrid safety linebacker. And what Isaiah Simmons should have been.
How he should have been utilized.
And Arizona didn't use him right, and then he went to the Giants, and they just didn't use that type of defense that mattered for his style.
He's going to be a guy that he'll never fully hit what he probably could have been because it's at this point he's what 5 years in. Now he'll continuously get contracts. He'll get like a Jadeveon Clowney. He'll always be on a team, but he'll never be as impactful as Jadeveon Clowney was. Jadeveon Clowney still had a good football career. People don't realize how good his career's been.
Like he was
only has 1 year
run
deals.
stopper though.
It's true.
That's what he was known for. But when you get drafted that high, you're expected to be a sack guy, even though that's not what his forte was.
He's not too different than DeMarcus Lawrence.
He's
really
exactly
not.
what Tank is.
DeMarcus Lawrence got paid by the Cowboys because he was so good at stopping the run. The Cowboys acknowledged that was a weakness.
The other thing though about Tank is what also gets overlooked at is while he doesn't get sacks, he gets pressure. He moves.
It's true. He gets there and enforces something.
Robert Quinn, when he was with the Cowboys a few years ago, and led the league in sacks, and it was because Tank was getting pressure and forcing the quarterback over, and Quinn was coming in and getting a sack.
Yeah.
Like, that's an undervalued, and that's why he's continually getting paid by them. They're like, we're not getting rid of him. Like, I understand he's not getting these sacks, but he brings so much more value to everything else. Like, you'd be stupid. Yeah.
So that said, we'll move it. I'll jump up real quick here and tell you we know next week's match are set up. Or what's the one game I would say that you're most excited to watch?
I don't know, because I mean they're all kind of excited. Honestly, I think the biggest one is going to be Tampa Bay and Detroit, just because I want to see if Baker can pull it off against Detroit too.
So I
want Detroit to win.
I want Detroit to win, but I want Baker to play good.
Yeah, I want to see if he can pull it off, because if he does, that might be a bigger contract that he gets.
Yeah,
because
I think
he's showing a lot.
Yeah, he's
of improvement.
He was like a Geno Smith contract, and like he's continuously doing things that say like, I mean, and he's not going to even have Mike Evans next year. Most people think Mike Evans is leaving. Like
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. I think he signed something
now that they're actually like at one point when I thought they were going to be a bottom feeder, I was like, yeah, keep going. Now that they're an actual playoff contender, like I don't think he'll go. I think he'll stay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, even if he just stays in as he ages, obviously he's going to start reducing and roll.
Yeah.
Like, stay around the team. You've won a Super Bowl with that team. You are a guaranteed buck for life. Ring of Honor guy. Like, at this point, since you've got the Super Bowl, you're probably a Hall of Famer. Like, low key.
I mean,
Mike Evans,
done? Yeah, he's already a Hall of Famer.
He's the definition of consistency. Like, you don't ever look at Mike Evans and go, you have him, you're like, oh, I have Mike Evans. And you're like, all right, cool. But you don't look at him and realize that he's just that guy. Like,
it's nothing that he does is sexy.
Nothing.
This is a bad example just because this guy never led the league or anything. But he reminds me a lot of Frank Gore because of just the consistency of good play.
Yeah.
Like, not great, but at the same time, when you say Mike Evans, you're never going to say he's the best receiver in the league.
No, ever.
Like, you would never say that. He's a great receiver, but you're never going to say he's the best in the league.
He won't get into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot.
No.
Because there's guys that we know are on the ballot that haven't gotten in yet that are more consistent. Now, the words 1,000-yard season get a little overused because we talked about the fact that it's only 65 yards a game or something. Like, and now he even has an extra game.
Yeah.
And like, was it last season he only got it because he went for like 230 on the last game of the season, or he wouldn't even have kept the streak alive or something. But it's still like the consistency. He stayed healthy. He's been dependable. He's never been the diva, loudmouth guy. Like, it's not like we've ever turned on the game and just been like, whoa, Mike Evans throwing a fit on the sideline. Like AJ Brown throwing a fit on the sideline every other game. Like,
he is having a lot of issues with the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's his issue. I don't think his issues with anything else but the fact that their offensive plays have been garbage.
Yeah,
and for some reason, I'm going to tell you the reason why he's getting head coaching interviews. It's because of the Rooney Rule.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the only reason why he's getting interviews. He ain't getting interviews because he's good, because that offense was terrible.
And it's the sickness of the fact that people are like, I wouldn't even take the interview. If I knew I wasn't actually going to get the job, I'm not going to be your Rooney Rule stooge. Yeah. Sorry, but I just don't want to be that guy. Like, the shame in that. Like, remember, who was it? What in Dallas that brought in, was it Marvin, the guy that coached the Bengals forever? Marvin Lewis. They brought Marvin Lewis knowing damn well they were about to hire Mark McCarthy. They were like, hey, Marvin, will you come in for a free lunch and just get told you're not going to be our head coach? Like, we'll pay for your flight. Sure. No, like, fuck you. No, I'm not going to do that.
No, I agree with that. Like, the Rooney Rule has really, like, it was meant to help, but all it's done really is just kind of throw people under the bus. Like, it's not, if an owner doesn't want to hire that guy, they have to interview him anyway. Like, owners already have in mind who they try to really want.
Absolutely.
But now they're forced to interview these guys knowing they don't have a shot at it.
Yeah, it's
And
a
it's
waste of
because there's a
everyone's time,
rule.
money.
Like,
Excuse me.
is it a good rule? I think
The
the
concept
concept behind it is a good
Yes.
rule, but the execution of it is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I think they did the right thing by trying to do something like that, but at the same time, it's kind of backfiring because these coaches know who they want and they're going to
Now
hire who
they're,
they want.
they're making
and
it even
just-
more laughable now because they're doing like draft pick compensations.
Yeah,
and, like it's,
yeah.
But
Yeah, oh, if you hire a black coach, we'll give you a 3rd round pick.
well, you know the Dolphins got a pick for Mike McCarthy or Mike
Mike
McDaniel
McDaniels,
because
yeah.
he's a minority. I was like,
Because he's mixed.
But that said, though, I will say, San Francisco, I feel like, is just still that much better than everyone that's left the NFC. Don't get me wrong, Packers looked great. I just don't think they're going to go out there and do
No.
that to the 49ers. Tampa Bay was fun to watch. Detroit's been fun to watch. Detroit, I think is the better team. I would love it for the city, for Dan Campbell alone. I'm rooting for mostly. Like, I'd love to see that win for that. But
Yeah.
the AFC games are still, like, I feel like the two games in the AFC, the Chiefs and Bills game has the ability to just blow up. Like, if the
Yeah.
two quarterbacks lock in,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who's catching the ball because you could, in the same boat that we could say that the Chiefs need receivers, you could say the same thing about the Bills.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is old.
Yeah. Outside of Stephon Diggs, it's just
It's Shakir.
Gabe Davis and
Yeah,
Khalil
like
Shakir.
Gabe Davis haven't shown up to the game in 6 months. He's one of those guys that randomly goes for 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
And that might be what he does this weekend. But like
for 10 yards a game
The
and then
Texans
for
and
170
Ravens.
yards a game.
the Texans and Ravens is the game I'm really excited about because
Yeah.
Stroud is just going out there telling the league, like, no, what I did in the college football playoff, like, that's what I was ready to do.
That's
I came,
what I do.
and that's what I'm here to play. And I don't know. I don't think the outside guys, Kyle Hamilton over the top is a monster. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think the people covering on the outside for the Ravens are nearly as good as their front seven. The front seven's fantastic. I think you're gonna have struggles. Singletary's not gonna be a big impact on the game, I don't think. But I think Nico Collins could just as easily feast next week this weekend as he did last weekend.
Yeah.
And I think if you let him and Stroud get in a roll, and then that's when they sneak in a few of those little drop ins to Dalton Schultz. Like, we watched Dalton Schultz catch drop one, but catch one nice post move wide open because you don't account for him anymore because you're so focused on what they're doing with Collins and other guys like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would, for Lamar Jackson's sake, I want him to win the game. I really do want.
I mean, Andrews is back. So
True,
he's got his number one target now.
But I hope it
opens
doesn't
things
deter
up.
them away from some of the other stuff because I will say
I don't think it will. I think it's just going to help.
yes, because Isaiah Likely has been feasting, and he's been really good for them the last 2 months since
He's
Andrews
done.
went down.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. I don't know that he has to be done because I think that he can be more impactful with the ball in his hands because of his size and speed combo
Well,
than a guy like
so-
Odell Beckham could at this point.
Yeah, but the offense is a one tight end offense. Like that's the type of offense that they run.
I'm trying to make him a slot receiver is what I'm doing.
And no, they wouldn't do that. They would. He's more in line. Like they would.
Yeah.
I think they would put Andrews in the slot before they put Likely there.
Hey, that's fine too.
But I don't I don't see that though because that's what they tried to do this year was open it up for Lamar to have
Yeah.
like that more spread offense of actual having receivers. So as cool as it would be because they do have two good tight ends, like as long as Andrews is there, Likely is only going to come in when Andrews needs to go out.
Exactly.
Like-
But I will say I've always been a Lamar guy.
Unless OBJ gets hurt again because I mean
True.
That's
So
what
that's
happens.
quite possible. I mean,
yeah.
I've always liked Lamar. I liked Lamar at Louisville. When Lamar came to the NFL, I was one of the guys that was sitting there going, well, remember, technically Louisville's offense was a pro-style offense. Like, he ran more in the NFL than he did in college. Like,
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that people were like, oh, he's a running back. Well, he's fast, yeah, but he threw the ball in college plenty.
A lot.
Yeah, and so I would love for his sake that he gets it because of all the people that it would shut up. I have a
Well,
friend
he's
who
already
told me
won
that
one.
Josh Rosen. No, I want him to win a Super Bowl.
Oh.
Him getting a Super Bowl because what everyone's always said is that he could win an MVP because he can put up numbers. We've seen him do that. They don't think that he can. There's been too many of them that have said that his style can't win a Super Bowl.
Mm.
And if you ask me, his style isn't Like, he doesn't look too different than sometimes how they get out on the run and they
Yeah.
throw on there. They're not too different than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has a bigger arm and a bigger body.
With
Like,
with the offense change this year, like I mean, he still runs, but
yeah,
with the offense that has changed dramatically from what it was, from with Greg Roman, like this, I don't believe that, because it's a different Lamar. Like there's similarities that are still there, obviously, but it's a different Lamar this year. This is a whole different offense. Like he still runs to make plays, but he didn't do it the way that they were doing it.
Oh no,
Like,
it's not
so,
like I remember
like
we were
people
getting highlights
if
every
there are
week.
people still on that, they're stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is
And that's-
something new.
And that's the thing is you continuously are still hearing people that talk about him in that way. Like there's still people that are getting on calling him a running back.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Dallas
stupid.
radio people
He's
does
proved it.
Bobby
Yeah,
Belt on the radio for the Dallas radio, he calls him a running back all the time. And I'm sorry, I'd take that running back over either one of our starting quarterbacks. And I'm about to have to pay mine $40 million a year. Like I'd take that guy second.
Yeah,
He wins
I
football
agree.
games. I want to win football games. Like, and
Now,
so
now, all right. Well, that puts us on a different discussion. So, MVP. Basically, the front runner and likely winner is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Runner up right now is at least in betting is Dak, and so take away what happened last week because MVP is regular season.
yeah,
There have been very few winners that didn't lead in a single category.
yeah,
And that's the only problem I see with Lamar. Now, the difference is the way that Lamar plays, he's not going to lead the league in passing
He's
yards.
going to make the yards up.
But he also didn't lead the league in total yards.
No.
So, now, but his total yards versus their passing helps his argument to where he should be the MVP. Now, but the problem is he only had 23 touchdowns, and a lot of people that I've seen in one of these groups that I'm in, they were like, "Well, that's because Gus Edwards has like 14 touchdowns this year." I was like, "Okay, so you're telling me that they have a good red zone running back?" Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like just because Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts
Can run it
get
into
these
themselves.
running, yeah, like they're bigger dudes. Like you don't want him doing that.
No, you don't.
And I was like, so you can't just take away from the running back because your quarterback isn't big enough to do the things that these big quarterbacks are doing.
Yeah, and you
Like-
don't want him to. Like,
And so you look at the 23 touchdowns, you look at how many turnovers he's had, like actual turnovers, not just all fumbles. Like, because it's unfair to judge all fumbles because some of them recovered, so it's not a lost fumble. It's not a turnover. So, but still, he was really high. I mean, obviously Josh Allen was the highest, but Lamar Jackson was right there behind him in total turnovers.
yeah,
And then you have Dak Prescott, who didn't have a lot of turnovers,
no, yeah.
who led the league in
I-
touchdowns.
I can see the argument for him doing it, but I personally have. I think I've said it on here before too. I think we overly focus sometimes on it being a quarterback. I don't think the MVP of the league this year is a quarterback. I think the MVP of the league this year is Christian McCaffrey.
No, I don't. I think he needed these last two games to prove it. He got hurt, and then he didn't get to play.
That's true.
I think he had the argument going to where he was going to win it, and the fact that he didn't get to finish that one game and didn't get to play in the final game.
I don't think he's playing
And
the final game, even if
take that away because Lamar didn't play in the final game.
Yeah.
So you look at finishing that game, it would have helped solidify what he had done and gave him the reason why he was going to be MVP. But because he got injured, he fell short of some of the stuff that he should have had. It took it away. And then Tyreek Hill in the same situation, he missed several games to where he didn't reach that goal that would have set him apart to give him that opportunity.
Yeah.
So with that, I feel like it's between Lamar and Dak. And I think McCaffrey is the third one behind there. And then behind that, I think it's Brock Purdy. Because Brock Purdy He didn't have. He didn't. It wasn't like he did anything like super special. Like, he did good, but it wasn't like he did anything super special. So, but what I wanted to bring up is
Do a camera check. Sorry.
Do a camera
I
check.
had a phone call come through and it's on Do Not Disturb, so it shouldn't have. Okay, we're still recording.
All right. So, from basically last year all the way to 2000, I stopped at 2000. I could have went further, but I just stopped there because most of the time that's where everyone stops at is 2000. So, one of the things that I noticed was almost every MVP led. The only time that they didn't was Matt Ryan in 2016, where he was second in yards and touchdowns. First place in yards was Breeze, and then he was fourth place in touchdowns. And then I think it was Rodgers was third place in yards and third place in touchdowns.
Okay.
And the only reason why Matt Ryan won was because literally, like, of the candidates that were eligible, because I say eligible because while I say wins and losses don't matter, it matters into who's in the conversation. Like, it's not going to separate who's in the conversation, but it's going to say, these guys here had 5 losses and these had 2 and 3, so these they're not in the conversation. It's these guys.
Yeah.
So, because there were other people that should have been in that conversation, but they weren't.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So you have that one. Then people brought up, well, it usually goes to the team that has the best record. Okay, well, that same year, Matt Ryan, his team was tied for 5th best record.
Yeah.
So, no, it doesn't do that. You got 2020, Rodgers won. They didn't have the best record. 2018, Mahomes won, didn't have the best record. Like, there's a big list. Like, best record doesn't matter. But back on the leading the league in something, Cam Newton won. He didn't actually lead the league in touchdowns, but he led the league in total touchdowns that year.
Okay.
And his team was 15-1.
Yeah, he was very.
So
Cam Newton played a lot like Jalen Hurts.
yeah. So there was that team was a lot better. He earned it because basically he was second in touchdowns, but first in total. And then Peyton Manning won, being second in yards and second in touchdowns.
Okay.
Those were the only ones that a player has not led the league. That's 3 times since 2000.
Yeah.
Now you take away 4 of those because 4 of them are running backs. So, but that's still a very big showing that it kind of matters if you lead the league. And stuff.
Oh yeah,
and the fact that Dak is a league leader,
oh yeah,
it to me gives him some kind of advantage, even though he got embarrassed last week
in the playoff. Yes,
like
aside the point, like you said, regular season award.
Like, he is a league leader, and Lamar Jackson is not.
Yeah, I think the other part that I guess. The thing that I don't feel like people always bring into the discussion of when they're making the argument for the MVP is the literal name. Like, it's literally called the most valuable player. And so when I want to pick my MVP, I literally try to take that guy and say, how would the team be if I had anyone else here? I don't, and what's around that guy? Dak, in all truth, outside of CeeDee Lamb, the rest of the team is just kind of mid-level talent guys.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy and McCaffrey, I'll give them this. They have other guys on that team that are going to excel them around them. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys had a good offensive line for the most season, but what I'm talking is skill set guys. Yeah,
really.
No, yeah, great.
They really didn't even play
It
together.
did take steps back for the most part. But I mean is like Pollard was never what they were hyped up to be this season, especially. And he didn't really have any running game at all. CeeDee Lamb was pretty much the only guy. And even CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion, I stand by this, has limitations. Yeah. I will never say CeeDee Lamb is one of the 5 best receivers in the league. CeeDee Lamb is Julian Edelman on crack. Like, that's what I see him as. He is always open. He's quick, short, under. He can get down the field and shock you with one like that. But he is a CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb to me is always just Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. Like, he's just a better version of those guys. He's not going to do what Justin Jefferson can do. He's not going to go and make a play that Jamar Chase can make. But then you go look at the Ravens, and I look at them, and I realize that, yes, Gus Edwards had touchdowns in the goal line. But there wasn't anyone really most of the season that consistently gave the Ravens another option out of the backfield. Like, they had a guy that would make a moment, and then boom. Zay Flowers was good, but Zay Flowers is far from being an elite receiver right now.
Yeah.
Then I look at Josh Allen is another one that, for the most part, James Cook had some pretty good spots throughout the season. We didn't really see anything out of Diggs most of the year. I mean, you really didn't. Like, Allen was winning games a lot of time because of Josh Allen. Like, if anyone else was the quarterback in Buffalo right now, do they win this many games this season?
And a lot of his interceptions early in the season were bad luck passes. Like, they talked about it. They were like, look, interceptions are interceptions, but you have to understand that not every interception is the quarterback's fault.
Absolutely not.
And most of his interceptions were just bad luck.
Yeah.
Like, it just...
We did that whole breakdown on Dax last year. Remember the 15 different game picks and how 6 of them weren't his? And, like, Josh Allen he gets knocked because he turns the ball over, but then we look at him make that big-ass run that he made last weekend, and we realize that if I put another quarterback in Buffalo right now with the pieces around them, there's about 3 of them that win as many games as Josh Allen was able to win this year. There's about 3 of them that can go through the carousel that their season was. And so that's why I kind of look at it and go, I guess now I'm talking myself out of who I think should be the MVP going in and looking at it. Because, like, Josh Allen doesn't get enough love, I don't think.
Well, it's because of all the turnovers.
True.
Like, even though we understand that they're not all equal, they look at it and go, that's a lot of turnovers.
So when we look at guys like Allen and Dak, I guess, yes, I think they should be getting more love based off what's around them and what they were able to achieve. So, yeah, I'm going to backpedal some and say that I guess looking at it kind of, Lamar's in the same boat, though. I think Lamar's up there with those guys of not having it because he did have injuries a lot of the season. Mm-hmm. Even his best weapon, you would say Mark Andrews is his version of like a CeeDee Lamb, and Andrews was hurt, 6-7 games? I mean, he was...
No.
He missed the last 5 games?
Last 5, yeah.
So, I mean, and for that last 5 games, they were still fighting for the division for a stretch of those games.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's the part
tough.
that isn't given enough value to me, though.
It's tough because even though it's called most valuable player, that's not how it's judged.
Exactly. I don't ever feel like not every time. Most of the time, I'm sure there's right there, but it's not always, in my opinion, the most valuable player that wins it. It's kind of like we talked about, like it's the easiest sport for me to see it. And it's harder probably in football because you have so many impacts.
Yeah.
Basketball is the easiest sport to point at one guy and go, his value to his team is huge. That's why, like, Michael Jordan probably could have won MVP every year he played. LeBron probably should have won MVP the first 15 seasons of his career. Because at the end of the day, any team he was on was 30 games worse if he wasn't playing. Like, those are metrics we can see better that you can't really see in football.
That's why it's tough for me to even agree with that. Because the way that they looked at it and the reason why he didn't win was you probably could have put one of these other superstars on that same team and it had the same effect.
I don't think they do, though.
You don't think so?
No.
I think LeBron has a worse effect on teammates than people give him credit for.
I'm going to tell you right now, you take LeBron off and give me, you can give it to him. Carmelo Anthony was probably most people's second guy behind LeBron most of that time. You put Carmelo Anthony on those Cleveland Cavaliers teams and tell me any of them make playoffs. Not the conference championship.
At that time? You talking about prime Kobe?
Okay. Prime Kobe was still... I guess I'm looking at just as... Because even then, Prime Kobe was getting Paul Gasol at that point, so he had a second wing to go get wins. I'm talking about guys that were just seen as the only guy on their team that were carrying to help get wins.
But if you put Kobe on that team... and that East Coast, they're in the playoffs and they're probably in the finals. So this is the argument that I've always had with Jordan and LeBron. Jordan had a hard time getting to the finals, but an easy finals.
Yes, he did.
LeBron
has had an easy finals and a hard...
an easy way to the finals, but a hard finals.
Yes.
Like, they've had it completely opposite.
Yeah.
And that's... If Kobe was playing in the East and LeBron was in the West, those Cavs would still be in the playoffs and probably in the finals because it was such an easy road to get there. Like, the best team you had to beat during that time, at that point, was Orlando with Dwight Howard.
I don't know. Some of those,
But the whole
team,
West
the
Coast
roster
was
around them.
loaded with players where you were going,
Oh, yeah.
well, who's going to take the West this year? Because is it going to be the Spurs again, or is it going to be the Lakers this year? Like, or who knows which powerhouse is going to take it this time? But on the East, you're going, I don't know. I mean, we know LeBron is on the Cavs, so they're going to win, but who else is going to make it? Like, we don't know. Like, that's the way the East was.
Yeah. So with that, I guess we're not even thinking NFL, do we? I think we get NFL, did I think we can parlay that. Yeah, okay, so we'll parlay it with that said. With the NBA, kind of getting into it, we'll have that talk, but there was a big trade today.
No.
We had
the
two
bigger
big
news.
news. Yeah, we
the
had
biggest
bigger
news.
news.
You have to do the biggest news. The most recent?
You're talking about the guy that died, right?
Huh?
You're talking about the guy that died today, right?
No. Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
Giddy is not facing charges.
Oh, I just got that update that it was a report that was a possibility. So it's confirmed in?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I
know.
got that at home.
Oh,
Before I got here.
Okay, I haven't gotten it. My phone's been set up on the stand. No, so I do know that the couple of days ago I saw that the girl and her family are being reluctant to being involved in the investigation. And when you're being reluctant to be involved in the investigation, that means you did something wrong and you know it. And so now you're about to get blown up in your face. So I'll say this, he's been playing better the last few weeks. So it kind of tells you that he's probably known that the pressure was coming off of his plates.
Yeah.
Because like he had that triple-double the other day. Did you see that?
I did not.
He had a triple-double in which he scored 13 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He only took 5 shots. He went 5 of 5 and had a triple-double.
Jesus.
Oh boy, went ham. Let's not even completely factor in that if you aren't calling the Oklahoma City Thunder a legit basketball team right now, you're a fool. Because that team is stupid good right now. Are you trying to find it?
Yeah,
I saw a little bit of a rumor one right here that I hadn't read it much, but TMZ, I see the TMZ report that he will not face charges stemming from the investigation.
Okay.
So
I don't know where the notification is, but
that just shows that the NBA did the right thing, though. You let the kid play until he screwed up. It's kind of like we talked about with Jonathan Majors. Disney did the right thing. They kept letting his stuff come out. They waited for the official report, and they fired him within seconds of finding out he was really a shitty person.
Yep. Yeah, they learned from their mistake with Johnny Depp. They were like, we're going to let this thing play out because we don't want to cut cord too soon.
I think anybody wishes they would have done Johnny Depp differently was Warner Brothers because we talked about with the Fantastic Beasts didn't even finish their trilogy because
they did.
The last one never came out. There was supposed to be one more movie that didn't come because of Johnny Depp.
Yeah, they recasted him.
Yes, but there was supposed to be more to
with
that.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, that's why it stopped. After that movie, there was such a scale.
Was that only number 2?
Yeah, that was only number 2. They were supposed to make a third movie, and there was such an outcry of people that were upset with the recasting because he didn't do anything wrong and had yet to been proven anything wrong, that the ratings went and nobody wanted to watch it.
Huh.
And so they lost so much money on the sequel that they didn't even bother to make the next one because they knew they couldn't backpedal and get Johnny Depp to come back. You're not gonna.
Yeah, I didn't
that
realize that.
Yeah, that was one of the huge things that
I thought that was the last one.
No, they just didn't finish the way they were wanting to because of that. And so it's fun. I mean, I'm glad that's definitely big news to hear. I was actually going to call the big news of being the coach passing away.
Yeah, that's pretty big too.
Heart attack. They canceled an NBA game. Like that was out of nowhere. I got a notification today. Golden State Warriors game canceled. I was like, is there cold weather or no power at the stadium? And then find out that an assistant coach had a heart attack, and so prayers for that family and everything going on there. And then you had the trade, Pascal Siakam. They gave
it
up
hurts.
a pretty good lot.
Yeah,
Mavs,
they did.
that was a big Mavs target. I know that.
That was a big Mavs target.
3 first-round picks and Bruce Brown, though. Bruce Brown's a win-now piece. So I'm a little surprised they gave him up. And the 3 first-round picks on top of that, I mean, especially because you don't know if Siakam's going to re-sign.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Tyrese Halliburton is a fucking stud. Like, that kid's a monster. You turn around every night, you're trying to figure out how that guy keep putting up the numbers that he has.
Oh, wow. He was only 46?
Yeah, the coach.
Wow.
Yeah, only 46. Young guy. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see. We've seen some trades, though, but we're now pretty close to the All-Star game. Celtics look pretty darn legit. I mean, they've only lost 9 games. They haven't even lost 10 games yet this far into the season. Yeah, the Mavs have been pretty up and down, but they've won the last couple games. It looks like they're playing the Lakers tonight, right?
Yeah, they are. They're playing right now.
Yeah, so definitely been some interesting cases. The Warriors, it looks like, are done. It sounds now like the Warriors are closer to basically just restarting the whole process and kind of moving on. That age has come to hit them.
Yeah, it's at that point where, because they don't look the same. Like, I'm not going to act like I watched the games, but I've seen the highlights and I've seen a lot of the talks, and it does look like it's coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this season, or even like
be
before the
shocked
trade
if we see
deadline,
it, exactly.
that we don't see Dre or Clay being shipped off. I don't think Steph is going.
Dre,
I don't think they'll get
no, they won't get a Steph. I think they are. Clay wants to continue to play basketball. He can play. He'll still play basketball, but he's not going to get the contract he wanted. He missed that opportunity. So Clay's gone. Draymond's got so much going on and off here. I think he can still help you in a way. He's going to go to a team that. Draymond's got to go to a team. God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he needs to go to a team that needs a young team that needs a veteran leader, or not a leader necessarily, but a veteran that could be the dirty work guy. The Mavs, the Thunder, guys like that could use an extra hustle rebounder guy that he's not, what he does isn't in the stat column. That's what Draymond is. I think you're going to see Chris Paul. Chris Paul could very well get moved.
Oh yeah.
You forget Chris Paul's on that team, and he hasn't been playing bad. Like, Chris Paul could probably end up in a Lakers uniform or someone like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That wouldn't be it'd be a team that could use kind of roles there. They're not going to try to buy out. They're still in the play-in or there. But no, I mean, you've seen a few moves. We had R.J. Barrett get traded.
Yeah.
And you've seen it since he got traded. Every single one of his stats is up. He's up in points, rebounds, assists, shooting percentage, 3-point percentage.
He's at a place where he's happy.
And
he's at home.
They gave up more to get the Knicks gave up extra pieces, and him and Quickly and picks to get OG Anunoby, and then he goes to Toronto, and the thing everyone's saying is the style of play. The Knicks were kind of forcing him to be a spot-up shooter, and he's never been a spot-up shooter. The Knicks were running their offense through Brunson and the kid from Dallas, the McKinney kid, but those guys. And so that was keeping R.J. Barrett as a spot-up guy who occasionally could go off the dribble, and apparently now he's in Toronto, they're letting him play his kind of ball, and so that's definitely helping out.
Okay.
So we're getting up to the All-Star break, though, trade deadline, all that fun stuff. We've already kind of got the trade whispers kind of coming in. Another guy on that team that might be a trade candidate is no,
Wiggins.
Kuminga won't go anywhere. He's a young guy. Wiggins will be a guy that you probably see potentially get moved. But yeah, I mean, there's been some fun stuff there. But in a hoops world that I think is even more entertaining this year, not too NBA-ish, but the college world right now of basketball. We are coming up on March Madness season. We're about a month and a half out for brackets and all that stuff. In the last 2 weeks, we've watched 9 teams in the top 10 lose more than once. Every team in the top 5 lost in consecutive days at one point. This late in the season, it's not uncommon to have a team that's like got 1 loss or no losses in college basketball. Every team in college basketball has at least 2 losses already. Like, the last few NCAA tournaments have been pretty wild. Like, just if you're looking at rankings.
Yeah.
If you are looking at rankings on the outside looking in right now, though, we've got teams like Utah State ranked like 16th in the nation. Like, what? And you know what? When the tournament comes, they're going to be a 9 seed, and they're going to steamroll 3 teams, and we're not going to be ready for it. Like, if you are a person who wants to sit back and pay attention to brackets and do all that stuff, this isn't going to be the year where you can just watch the conference tournament and pick teams. You better start picking and learning some of these teams now, because it's going to get pretty wild going on out there. What are you looking there? Oh, you're going to see Oscar?
Was that? No, RJ Barrett.
Oh, RJ Barrett.
I'm looking at what Yeah. Yeah, he went from 18 to 18.
Yeah, like he's just progressively been playing better basketball. Emmanuel Quickly, the kid they got from in that trade, also is another guy that's really
Rebounds. Wow, his rebounds have gone up from 4 to 7.
Yeah, he's just playing better basketball.
Wow, yeah.
So.
His 3-point percentage has gone up. Of course, well, he hadn't shot as many, but
because that's not his game, though. Like,
but his 3-point percentage went from 331 to 441 right now.
Yeah, like when you're shooting better shots to what your style is, it's gonna improve.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what the interesting factor of what his kind of numbers are and what he's doing. So it's definitely, I don't know, it's been an eventful. God, we've seen some early trades. Like that's the fun part about this NBA season, I think, is that we had the OG Anova trade and RJ Barrett. We've now had the Pascal Siakam trade. Like you can definitely see that I wouldn't be shocked if you see RJ Barrett get traded again.
No,
I don't know.
He grew up as a Raptors fan.
Did he?
Yeah. So he's like extremely happy to be in Toronto because he grew
he's
up.
Canadian. He's on
He grew up
Team
cheering
Canada.
for them.
Well, that's
so
good.
that's like he feels like he's home.
Okay.
I remember hearing that and I was like, okay, like
interesting. But it's funny because they're getting players back in these trades though that are guys that can help teams win now, like Bruce Bowen.
Yeah.
We just watched Bruce Brown help the Nuggets win it.
Brown, not Bruce,
Bruce Brown. We just watched Bruce Brown help the Nuggets win a championship though. Like I wouldn't be shocked if you see them turn around and parlay him in a deal after picking him up today in the Siakam deal. So that's definitely entertaining. I don't really have a ton of other NBA stuff. It's really just kind of, as we get more into it, we'll kind of go through it. Mostly playoff talk there, and then baseball news is pretty quiet. I will say this: here's a local conversation point for you. I'm going to read you the names on this list. These are the 10 best catchers in baseball, according to MLBNetwork.com.
I already know about this.
Did
stupid
you see
list.
it?
Yeah.
I caught this and I feel something's wrong here. Rutschman, which was a pretty cool video of him tackling him.
Uh-huh.
Will Smith, Sean Murphy, JT Realmuto. I'm not going to argue with those 4 names. Those are all 4 solid catchers. William Contreras for Milwaukee. Wilson Contreras for St. Louis, highly overrated. Alejandro Kirk, overrated. Yonder Diaz, kind of young. Cal Raleigh. Gabriel Moreno for the Diamondbacks. That's a top 10 list. Isn't there a name that's missing?
Yeah, there sure is.
I think there's a guy that's missing that, was on the team that just won the World Series.
When I saw it, I was like, this is the dumbest list. Like he could have been number 10 and it would have been fine.
No!
But the fact to leave him off the list completely is what is so stupid.
I would have been mad at the list if he was 10. I can
At
make
least
a
he would
case.
have been on the list.
True, but from 5 down, I would rather have him. If you didn't realize it yet, we never said Jonah Heim.
Yeah.
Jonah Heim was a stud. Jonah Heim was an all-star.
That's why when I first saw that list, I was like, I ain't.
And the crazy part is reading. This is MLB Network or MLB.com. This isn't like we're talking some shade tree Barstool community talk group some group of guys like us. This is their job. So I just wanted to throw the shade that Major League Baseball doesn't apparently think that Jonah Heim is a top 10 and if I'm Jonah Heim, I'm offended.
Yeah.
I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Because I think
that's how dumb it is.
Literally, I would have told you, I'll give you Adley Rutschman, I'll give you Will Smith, I'll give you Sean Murphy, I'll give you JT Realmuto. I can't justify any one of these other fuckers that are in front of him now.
They got paid to put that list in.
Alejandro Kirk sucked this season. He was bad.
They legitimately took money to add those names on that list.
That was. But there was other than that, there was nothing. I was kind of glancing through. No other names that really other lists that should be shockers to me. I mean, we've had some trades and things the Rangers have Corey Seager as the number 1 shortstop. Hard to argue that. I mean, then you look at the guys behind him: Lindor, Bogart, Stansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Bo Bichette. I mean, it's a solid list.
Yeah.
Correa, Bobby Witt Jr. You can see all those guys. The Rangers had Adolis as the number 9 ranked right fielder.
And he did not like his contract that they tried to offer him.
Oh, he didn't? I didn't
No.
hear about that.
He was at, oh man, I forgot what the difference was, but it was a big difference in what they offered and what he wanted. Like, it was a big difference.
And we have to factor his age in, too.
Yeah.
Because he's into this process so much later than most guys. Like, he's 29 now?
I think so.
30?
I
Like,
think so.
he's likely to only see one more contract. Especially because he's a hitter. Like, yes, he played Gold Glove defense this year, but you're paying Adolis Garcia to hit. So I don't know. It's getting fun. I mean, you're getting to the point though where pitchers and catchers are going to report in the next month. So you'll definitely start seeing more. Those small contracts are going to get signed. We still have a bunch of guys though that are MLB free agents still. Blake Snell still unsigned. And then they came out with a report what he wants to make. Did you hear about that? Apparently, Scott Boras set the mark for Blake Snell at like 9 years, $280 million. Like,
Jesus.
That's what he wants Blake Snell to get. And I'm trying to like look and see like there's been some guys. Most of your big name guys from the Japan market have signed. The Cubs got them a guy. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but we got what was supposed to be like the guy behind Yamamoto. He was supposed to be that guy. So pretty cool there. Just checking. The Rangers made that
1.9
trade
million apart.
That's not that big of a deal, but
I think that's per year.
okay. And we just saw the report because the part of the problem they say with the Rangers is supposedly the TV rights issue.
Yeah.
But Amazon, did you hear about that? I shared it on our team page or our Facebook page earlier. Apparently, Amazon bought stake in the company that owns Bally, whatever, Broadway Sports or whatever.
Okay.
And it looks like we might start seeing Ranger games, Stars games, and Maverick games on Prime
Oh wow.
because of the pivot of what's going on. Like, Prime might be buying out enough of Bally's to where we'll see those games on Amazon Prime.
Okay, so no, it was I guess it's a 1 year extension. Garcia asked for 6.9 and the Rangers offered 5.
Wait, that's all he asked for was 6.9?
Yeah.
I'm paying him 6.9 in a second. If he'd have walked in the room and said, I want 6.9, I'd have said okay, because my number for a guy of his caliber would have been 10. I'm sorry, what these guys get paid in baseball now, especially on the open market. He just helped you win a World Series. Like, you don't win a World Series because if you don't have Adolis Garcia. No. So, I'm sorry. The fact that he's only getting 6.9 is actually stunning to me.
But so that's what's going on with him.
Yeah, you still have a ton of guys like Joey Votto. I mean, he's old now, but Kershaw hasn't signed yet. Jock Peterson hasn't signed yet. Cody Bellinger still hasn't signed yet. Evan Longoria, Justin Turner, AJ Pollock, some of your big name older dudes that are role playing guys now. Like, there's some guys that just still haven't even signed their deal. Jorge Soler, he's an MVP of the World Series just 2 years ago for the Braves. I mean, that guy hasn't gotten a contract yet. So there's definitely some names. We'll probably start seeing those 1 year deals start trickling in. 1 year, 2 year deals. I think we're done seeing massive contracts now for this cycle. I think it's just going to be a bunch of guys signing 1 year, 2 year deals, push it through, and then we get to the season. Most of them want to be on a roster before spring training.
Oh, okay.
So they'll start, I think, in the next 2 weeks. We'll probably see it. Kind of look at Whit Merrifield hasn't signed yet. These are guys that can help you win. I mean, if you're the Rangers, there's some names on here that you could utilize still. You're still working on a bullpen that's still got plenty of holes in it. Klay Thompson's brother Trace doesn't have a team. Neither is Taylor Hearn, Royce City product.
Oh.
Yeah, there's Royce City High School.
Okay.
So that's why it was cool when he was a Ranger. Local kid comes home.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, other than that, not a ton else baseball-wise. It's just kind of waiting for dominoes to trickle in. So, I mean, yeah, that's really all I've got. I need to start. It's getting to that time of year where we're coming to the end of football, where we start trying to find more time to talk about the weird stuff that we didn't talk about. Much. Hockey. We better start studying. Aren't the Stars good again?
I think so.
I think Stars are good again. I don't know. We never really pay attention until about this time of year, so we look down and go.
They might be.
Let's see. They are not good. They're third in their division.
Okay. There you
They're
go.
not terrible.
There we go. Talking about the Stars. One thing that I did want to bring up was the draft, and that's something that we'll be talking about a lot.
Oh, for sure.
With the season getting close to ending. One of the big things that I saw this week was one of the names that has been kind of penciled in the top half of this draft may not actually be a guy. He's basically a media darling. Like the media loves him, but the NFL apparently doesn't like him that much. And it's Jer'Jon Newton. He's the defensive tackle from Illinois. So early in this process, like, he was the only defensive tackle that was really in the first round. And then slowly, all of a sudden, you started seeing his name move up a little bit more at a time, to the point where there were some people penciling him in the top 12. Well, now it's kind of coming out that the media loves him more than the NFL does. So there are Dane Brugler, but a lot of his sources that he's talked to has given grades of a second round on him. And that's a big change considering the fact that that's not the DT1.
No.
Like, a lot of people have already, NFL circles have moved someone else into the DT1 spot, while the media still thinks that Jer'Jon should be in this top range. Yeah. How about Texas Longhorns' Byron Young is the number one DT? Why? Probably because of his 16.8% pass rush success rate.
Which is good. It sounds small.
Amazing for a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Especially since the other guy in this, Jer'Jon Newton has a 10.1%.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a massive difference.
Significantly big difference.
So that was one of the bigger things that I noticed. The other thing, I wish people would stop putting Michael Penix in the first round. He's not going in the first round, so please stop. Bo Nix, he's not going in the first round. These are a couple things that I can almost kind of guarantee. They're not going in the first round. What's another one? Running backs are not going in the first round. There's no running back.
I can't tell you a running back coming out of college. Blake Corum is probably the one college running back that comes out to me that might
Jonathan
be a
Brooks.
dude. Yeah.
Tore his ACL, but he was looking really good.
But you just don't have that. This year's running back group, the receiving group is stupid. But there's there's no Bijan or
this receiving group. If you need a receiver this year, you're getting a receiver because
we might see 3 in the top 10. Easily, I can see 3 in the top 10.
You must. I mean, there's a good possibility that there's 3 in the top 5.
You're saying you could see quarterback, receiver.
You could.
You see the big one.
So before I moved this, I actually had my top 6 picks were 3 quarterbacks and 3 receivers.
Yeah.
And
don't tell me you have JT Daniels going to New England. I keep seeing it. It hurts my heart.
No, God,
thank
no.
God.
I hate that.
It would hurt my heart. I don't disagree it would be stupid, but I hate it because I don't want him to go there.
Yeah. No.
I've seen it though a lot lately, and I'm like, I don't want to hate him.
So here's the thing. Jaden Daniels, the problem with him is his age. Like, he's gonna be an older prospect because he's 24. Yeah. Like, he spent several years in Arizona State before he moved over to LSU.
We stopped seeing them factor that as much, though.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me the last older prospect that was good that was drafted in the first round.
Joe Burrow was like 24, 25.
No, he was 23.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
He was older than that.
He was 23.
Oh, it seemed like he was older than that. Because it's just funny as you think about the fact that Joe Burrow is like a year and a half, 2 years older than Lamar Jackson. And
You
Lamar
want
in
me
the late 30 years.
to name the last quarterback that was drafted?
Don't say Brandon Weeden. He's like 28.
No. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
No. Kenny Pickett.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then after that, they were like, let's kind of lean back off of this. So the next one, well, he tore his ACL, but he still wouldn't win the first round.
Hendon.
Hendon Hooker. So he ended up going the third round. Likely he would have hit the second round without the injury. But he was also an older quarterback.
And he's not going to play at all now.
So basically, like it's a small sample, but right now you don't have a good sample of these older quarterbacks doing more than what they did in college.
Yeah.
Like because and that's the reason why they were okay with it because of the COVID year, but now you're starting because I think Jaden's going to be different than that because he is better, but you're looking at this picture of they had all these years, and then their final year they finally took that next step.
Yeah.
And more than likely, when you're a quarterback and you're taking that final step that far along, a lot of teams are going, that's probably like his ceiling. He's going to be 24 in the draft.
No, he's not.
Yes,
His
he is.
birthday is December 18th. He just turned 23.
Oh, okay. Damn.
He's
He's played in the
turned
league.
23.
He's played in college for 5 years.
He was, but he was a graduate early. He got to Arizona State as a true freshman, as an early graduate, and then Arizona State was awful, and so he didn't get any credit for being a good quarterback because Arizona State was so bad.
I got
I just had a feeling he was younger.
He's younger then. All right, that's not bad.
Yeah,
but
he just turned 23 on the 18th.
Okay, well, this argument is more for Penix
who's definitely older.
Yeah.
He's like 24, 25.
Yeah,
or something.
Penix and Nix are for this argument.
Yeah.
I'm definitely changing mine on Jaden. For some reason, I thought he was.
But I still don't want him in New England.
But there's the whole looking at this. You're looking at that guy going. It took him this long to finally reach this point, and now you look at Pickett and you realize what he reached in college was his ceiling. And when he got to the NFL, it's a different game, but so even though his ceiling was right there, it's a different game, so your ceiling is going to be lower.
Yeah.
And he never moved up. Now,
he also had an idiot calling plays.
yeah, he had idiot calling plays, but you never really seen him just excel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of his hand size, because he wore gloves. The only thing that his hand size had to do with anything was fumbling, and he didn't fumble that much.
Yeah.
So, if you're worried about hand size, it didn't matter because of the gloves. So that was one of the bigger arguments that I've seen was the hand size thing, and that doesn't matter if you're wearing gloves because especially with those sticky things. But yeah, the age thing comes into play with Penix and Nix because they're older, and it took them a while. Now, Penix, it took him a while because of injuries, which is another factor why he's not going to be first rounder. 2 torn ACLs and a shoulder injury that has basically played the first 4 years of his career, and then he had 2 healthy years. But you're still looking at that big history of a quarterback with shoulder problems and ACL problems. It's a big issue there. And then one other thing before we go ahead and end it is the defensive end that is basically the number 1 edge rusher, and it's going to come to the medicals at the combine. But Laitu Latu, he's from UCLA.
Yeah.
He was at Washington. He had to medically retire because of a neck injury, and he went to UCLA, and they were like, "No, you're fine. You can play." So the neck injury literally made him retire, and then he was able to play. So
you don't play with neck injuries.
Yeah,
Van Rash,
Leighton Vander Esch. That's exactly it. And the problem is that when they go and do this, medical examination, and they look at that, they're going to look at that and go, "Yeah, you are amazing, but you may only last 3 or 4 years. We're not willing to spend a high draft pick or a first round draft pick on a guy that we know is probably not going to make it through his contract."
Yeah.
That's the problem. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is, he's great, but these teams are going, like, do we want to use our first round draft pick on a guy that's going to be good for like 3 years that may not finish his contract, or do we do it for a guy that's going to be not as good but still really good and make it through his contract plus the next?
And unless that guy is in that 3-year window is going to put you over the top for the Super Bowl, it's not worth the risk.
Exactly.
So,
So Laitu Latu, to me, even though he's basically the edge one over Dallas Turner and Jared Verse, the medicals are going to be the major thing
how does it look?
to push where he's actually going to be drafted. Because if Owusu Koromoa fell to the second round because of something in his medical history, if that made him fall, like, there's a good chance that he's going to fall in the second round too, even though he should be like a top 10 pick. But injuries like that are going to keep you out. But yeah, what were we talking about with receivers? Yeah, I have Malik Harrison, Neighbors, and Adunze all in the top 6.
Yeah. Those are the 3 that you can pretty much pencil in. They're gonna go.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. And almost any team in the league could use those guys.
Yep. And it's crazy because you have Harrison, and if Harrison wasn't in this draft, Neighbors would be a top 3 pick. Because of how good he is. And if Neighbors wasn't in this pick, Adunze is good enough to where he would be the number 3 pick in this draft.
There were people talking about the fact that Malik Neighbors, the gap between Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't as far as it sounds. It's just because Marvin Harrison has such measurables that he's going to get that. But, like, the gap between, like, you talk about these guys like it would be wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and then the rest. It's really like wide receiver 1, 2, 3.
It's wide receiver 1, A, B, and C.
Yeah, like they're all right there, so it'll be entertaining. It's going to be fun. We'll definitely get more into the draft. I think this year we'll take more of a position group approach, possibly. Let's try to, instead of like going over the whole, we kind of would go in and we did like full mock talk sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can get a little more into talking about the position groups. Kind of talk about the players in them, because it would help me for sure. Like you get into a depth on them sometimes that I learn a lot of it getting into it. So it'd be nice to learn it because it'll help us know more for like getting into those teams. Because we can talk about, hey, when we talk about this position group, these are the teams that we know needed this position group. Like these are the names. Kind of getting into it that way might be something that we could really look into this season. Kind of that'll open up more of that conversation style for us too while we're doing it. So that'll definitely help kind of our people that listen, because we know we pretty much have catered to just some of our buddies that are a little more on the hardcore side, and then occasionally they'll come through and ask us questions. And then at some point, we're going to have a bet payoff on here, too.
Oh, yeah.
We have a fantasy football bet payoff for a fantasy league we're in together. We're still figuring out how we're going to do it. It might involve one of our computers and a screen turned around, and we'll zoom the camera in. But we'll figure all that out in a good time. But, it'll be fun. I definitely going to be there's always sports for us to talk about. Whenever we first started the show last year, and it was what they called the sports dead time, we both laughed and we were like, we can find plenty of sports to talk about. So I'm not too worried about it. Like we said, we'll figure it all out. It'll be fun, and it's going to be exciting getting into the draft. And hell, we're only, 3 weeks away from the Super Bowl's 3 weeks, Senior Bowl's 4.5 weeks. Combine 6 weeks. I mean, we're around the corner from all the ramp up. Like, let's not act like it's not coming quick. So, but that said, I guess unless you have something else that stands out, that's all I got. We'll wrap things up and have everyone have a good night. Peace.